Hello everyone. Hi Annie. Welcome. Hello everybody. Now I just have to wait for my main person, who's Raghav, to come on. Thank you for coming back, all of you. Sweet, really. So as you know, hi. So as you know, this is going to be a conversation with Raghav, and I'm actually we're going to wait a minute for Raghav to come online. Very important to have for the conversation, and I'm just so glad you guys are back. Really, thank you for your support. Absolutely. So I'm just going. Oh, and there's Raghav. I found him. Rag, can you? Yes. Oh, chef is on also. Hi, Rag.
Hey Anja, how's it going?
Very good. So all of you are watching. This is Raghav. Um, he's my coach. He's oops. So I got so excited I dropped my phone. Okay, first of all, let me tell you guys, this is the first time I'm doing Raghav. You better get ready for this. I can already see some handsomes coming up for you. Just be careful.
So what was that, Anja? So I didn't quite hear you. I'm using this phone stand. It's not quite working here, so I'm just trying to. So what were you saying?
I think there are a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, he's handsome."
Oh, yeah, this is me with my coronavirus lockdown hairstyle. Honestly, um, it's like you see some Indian guys when they grow their hair, they can pull it off. It's not me. So this is hours trying to get myself sorted for this call. So yeah.
So let me just share. I met Raghav at a point in my life where I thought I was lost. I didn't know what was happening, and I went for a weekend workshop in London with him, and it transformed me. It truly, truly did. It was absolutely amazing. Uh, I remember that weekend so clearly. I remember everything about that weekend. It was absolutely awesome. He's Raghav's not only my coach, according to me, he's my family coach. That's what I call him. Because anytime I need anything, I know I can just pick up the phone and call him. He's such a positive person. He's just, you know what's amazing, Raghav, what I love about you is that you always make me find, even though I may call you crying for something, you'll make me find the answer for myself. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's amazing. You're really like a family member to me, and I know all the rest of my family are going to agree with that. It's just, thank you. Thank you for being in our lives, and thank you more importantly for being here today. And
No, thank you, and yeah, and I'm very humbled and honored, and I love you and your family very much. I was talking to Effie about this before today, and I was telling her that your family is just incredible. Like every single member of your family met so far. Like the thing that has me say that is I just like everyone's very heart-led and passionate, and it's so almost want to say not rare, but it's especially in this day and age when people are going through challenging times and situations to find people living through their hearts, like yourself, like Garan, like Arjun, like Paloma Milland, and everyone else. It's a real gift to see, and I think that's the key to it. That one of my coaches just recently was saying, Rag, what do you think the key is to extraordinary growth, happiness, positivity with any of the clients you work with? And I said, well, the key to an extraordinary impact with any client is actually having an extraordinary client. And that's why you got what you got from Create Your Breakthrough, because of who you're being in the world, how you show up, how your sons show up, how that it's such an important thing. So it's not that I do anything, it's the reason you've had what you have is because of who you are. And that's a key a lot to what I'm sure we're going to talk about today.
no, Raghav, you make us. I'm not going to agree. A lot of it is what you do for us, definitely.
Well, I was trying
But
to be humble, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So there are a few questions, and I think some people did have a few questions. I'm going to see and try and see how to keep it as short as I can or long. I don't know how long it's going to go on. So I'd love to know, everybody talks about the word positivity nowadays, it's just like positive vibes, positive mindset. When did positivity become a part of your life and your work?
So my journey to coaching, I'm not one of these guys necessarily that one day woke up and randomly said, I want to be a coach because that's the cool thing to do. And what I find with a lot of people that do this work that we do, like, yourself, Anjana, like everyone that we know that's just so passionate about making change, what I find is they've gone through stuff. They've had a journey that actually is why they do what they do today. So for myself, as when I was younger, I went through depression. I struggle with confidence. I struggle with, low self-esteem. I had an eating disorder when I was around 17, 18. So my weight kept fluctuating back and forth. I think the only benefit of it was seeing how scared my mum was, where I'd be coming home and I'd be a different size completely every time I came home. That I just struggled with how I looked. So I'd be swinging back and forth. And and it was a really hard time for me. Like I went through that and I wasn't even sure that that's what I was doing in the moment. Like I was so lost and I was so scared and I was in such a dark place when I was younger that, I just felt really out of control and I had no idea I was going through depression. I had no idea that this was normal, that people go through just feeling a little bit scared, feeling lost. So I basically grew up teaching myself I need to suppress emotion. I need to suppress all these things. And I was suppressing myself, suppressing who I was because I thought it was wrong to be feeling the things that I was feeling. And largely because my family didn't actually, know that, actually this is normal stuff. They didn't have this awareness because it's becoming more mainstream today that actually people go through things. They go through challenges. So through all of that, like somehow I managed to, turn my life around completely. And to this day, it blows my mind. And I haven't pointed out exactly like what's happened yet. But through all of this, something just inspired me about learning what did I go through? Why did I experience what I experienced? And how can I help someone who's going through something similar like that navigate that more effectively? So that took me to this world of human potential and positivity. Like that's why I do what I do. That's why positivity is. And what you talk about, it's getting in touch with like what's real and what's always there and what's constant in our lives beyond times when we get scared and worried. That sense of positivity, that sense of hope, that sense of like even in this time that we're in, connection that brings people together during the toughest times humanity goes through.
So, so then do you think that positivity is a mindset that we can create for ourselves? I mean, I know it's our choice. I definitely think it's to be positive is my choice. But when you're going through a difficult period, if you're going through a lull, how do you decide, okay, I need to be in this mindset? I mean, how do you change the way you are?
It's interesting because I think positivity starts with first an understanding of the world a little bit, starts with, an outlook. But I think what makes positivity go further, like for me, what I love about positivity is it's a way of being in the world. It's a way of being, it's where you come from. So might think positivity is what you have to do. It's something you've got to go and do. I need to be more positive. I need to, and it becomes a strategy. Like in some courses they teach, how to be more loving, how to be better listeners. And people are doing it, but they're not
Yeah.
really being it.
Yeah.
They're doing all these things. So positivity first, like one level up is the understanding that actually things are going to be okay and seeing things better than they are. But really being positivity is recognizing and is how you live your day to day, making it a part of how you live. And I think that's who we are, and it's not who we are in the fullest. And it's how we embrace some of the challenges we go through. That's what I call positive. It's not necessarily being fully lit up all the time, but it's when you're going through something, it's having that grace when you're going through it. Because that's what leadership is. That's what positivity is for me. So it's a way of being in the world that as you do that, people feel it. People feel that you're coming from love, you're coming from compassion, you're coming from what is just you feel is really true to you during a challenging time or during a time of love, and even in the most upbeat times. And that's what people feel the most. Because you can get people that are very intellectual about stuff, but when you really embody something and feel it, people don't know why, but it's energy that then comes through you. It's like your own vibe, and it's your aura, or however you want to describe it. It's like a way of being.
But Raghav, you said when you're at your lowest point, it's about being positive. How do you get to when you're in a state, and I know a lot of people have actually asked this question. I said, I'm going through a bit of depression now. I really need to hear about this. And so when you're in, a lot of people today, it could be because of COVID, it could be because of anything. There's so many things happening around, When you are in a state like that, what can you do to pull yourself out of it, to just, feel better? Because it's easy for me to tell somebody, it's about being positive and it's a mindset and everything. But sometimes it's more than just that. You need maybe to, like for me, I mean, the simple thing sometimes I do is, there are times when it doesn't work, but there are times when I'm feeling really low. And I know there's a certain type of music,
Mm-hmm.
And I tell myself, I said, you know what? This is it. This is going to pass. It's just a phase. Or I have my way of working, but I mean, you're the main code. What would you suggest? How would you say people could change things around for themselves when somebody is down and out?
Well, I think that's an amazing question. And one of the things that, I share with all my clients, and even I think I shared with you, this same understanding I took to the government to teach this stuff. And I was a little bit scared how people would find it, because they're so built on, when you're feeling this, you need to do something to take yourself out of it. And the very, what strategies, what have you got? Like, what tools, what do you do? And the first distinction I came from is, you guys are talking about mental health in this case, they were, but for the wider world, it's having this understanding that it's okay to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really recognizing it's okay to go through things, because seeing that first is actually what makes it so much easier, and it makes what we feel a little bit less of a problem. Now, why we actually experience this a little bit worse and a bit more intensely is when we're not okay, we then say, oh, well, I shouldn't be feeling like this. And I actually have clients I coach who are very ambitious, and they say, Rag, I'm feeling scared, but oh no, I shouldn't be feeling like this, and there's something wrong with me. And I said, well, why? Like, I feel that all the time. I feel fear. And they go, really? No, like, you're a coach, and well, that's our humanity. Like, in the same way we experience day, we experience night. In the same way, and I actually asked this question to the people in Parliament. I said, why is your job of living life similar to a trader? And they said, yeah, I get it. We have to ride the waves of the stock market as it goes up and down. It's like you're a surfer. You can't surf if there's no waves. The waves of life is the emotion that we experience. It's the times of challenge which show us so much about ourselves, consciousness. It's times of challenge like this that actually have brought humanity together to experience love. During the biggest conflicts we've got in the world, people are coming together, right? So the first thing to realize is, actually, it's okay to be stuck. It's okay to feel low. It's okay to be going through what you're going through. And the more you make it okay, then what will happen is there's actually a lot less you have to do, because then your emotions will take care of itself. Like, you'll feel times of lowness. You'll feel times when you're feeling a bit, sure, not upbeat. But my goal isn't now to get upbeat. My goal is just to let myself feel what I feel when I do. And there's this great expression that George Pransky once said. He said, success is about being grateful for your highs and graceful with your lows.
That's lovely.
So, and I like that. And, I like it because it's a bit more real. It's less about, oh, I need to be positive. And I used to be this guy, by the way. I'm speaking from my experience. I used to always think I need to be upbeat all the time. That I had people say to me, Rag, I don't really connect with you. Like, I don't really, like, this guy's inspiring, but there's something about it that I just don't resonate with. Because that was me when I was younger, thinking I always needed to be happy. I always needed to be this. I put on this mask thinking, oh, I can't show my humanity to the world.
Right.
Because, yeah.
I'm so grateful for your highs and graceful with your lows.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's amazing. So you really think it's feeling the feelings helps one overcome and move on. Basically, it's not anything else. Once you feel the feelings, you've accepted and you're ready to move on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, in the same way, like, our love for gelato. So whenever I go to Desato, I love Garden's beautiful product, and I'm hating the lockdown because I'm going to drink this stuff, this instant coffee stuff, and I can't wait to have my illy coffee at Garden's place. But it's like how I describe it is, when I feel like I want an ice cream, That's also a feeling. When I feel, oh, I'm really scared things are going to fail, that's also a feeling. But I beat myself up for having one feeling, and I don't beat myself up for having another feeling just because it looks different. Like, okay, if I say I want chocolate ice cream, that feels better than I'm really worried I'm going to fail. But the truth about humanity is we experience all sorts of feelings, but they're the same thing. They're made of the same thing. Yet we give ourselves such a hard time when we experience a feeling of, I'm scared of something. Yeah, well, that will happen. In the same way, you're going to have feelings of things that you love, things you want to do. Oh, I'd love to go on a holiday. You don't kick your own backside for thinking, I want to go on a holiday, because it's just what comes through you. It's just what you feel in the moment. Like, you don't choose to feel that. It's just what you feel. In the same way, when I feel my fears, sometimes I get into my head and say, oh my God, why am I doing this? I shouldn't be. And I'll be like, no, well, this is just a feeling. We feel feelings that have got different colors. They're just, it's all the same thing. It's just feelings. But when we play the game of I shouldn't be having this feeling, then that's when we really experience like the impact of what we go through. Because it becomes more. It's not just a feeling, it's a thing. Like, it's like a fear now. Oh, it's a worry, or it's, I'm really worried I'm gonna fail. But we forget that that is just the feeling we've got. And we're giving it so much energy and attention and beating ourselves up and making us wrong and telling us we shouldn't have this, that it just becomes so intense. It's like, it's what I call a thought sandwich. You eat such a big sandwich made out of all this feeling and thought, like you're absorbing so much of it, you feel bloated. You feel so bloated that you need to just lie down and just like digest all this stuff you've been going on, that you've been having, that has to then like sit, like eventually come through and clear. So yeah.
So it's actually, in simple words, it could also just be something like when you give a feeling too much attention, right? And I mean, not a feeling. If somebody is going through a low and you keep feeding the low, right? I mean, you keep giving more and more energy to that feeling. All you're doing is just increasing it. So what would you do to just? Are you just saying think about it less, or take a shift from there?
So
You
someone
know what
that,
I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely. So someone that we know, I don't want to mention the name because of confidentiality, but someone that we know, and they had this amazing um, understanding of this. When I was sharing this with them, they like had this like aha moment, and I said, "What happened?" They said, "You know what I realized, Rag? When I have thinking, I then think about my thinking.
Yeah.
That's why we experience this more. So it's not so much like, and why people think, well, Rag, but okay, that's great. What do I do now? I need a strategy. Well, no, it's the things you're doing that are exacerbating your thinking. It's the things you're doing that are exacerbating your feelings. Like, you're feeling things and you're doing things with them. You're either trying to change how you feel. You're either trying to change what you think. You're either trying to worry about this less. And you're just thinking about this so much that when you actually do less with your thinking, and I love, this is what Michael Neal told me. He said that the fastest way to change your thinking is to do nothing to change your thinking, because it's our nature. It's what we're built to do. It's almost like someone saying, "Oh my God, I'm hungry. I shouldn't be hungry." That's our nature to be hungry. That's our nature to experience feelings. Because otherwise, and I actually do ask this question to my clients, and I'd almost ask this to everyone listening in. If you could have a button that could take away your thoughts and feelings, would you do it?
No.
Would you? Yeah. And you see, that's the thing. None of my clients would do it. None of them, because they really see why it's important to experience thoughts and feelings.
So basically, it's really important to not judge our feelings, but accept our feelings. I think very often we're judging how we feel. Instead of that, if you just take a shift and say, okay, I'm feeling like this and that's it. That's an answer, right?
Yeah. It's almost like there's an impartiality to it. And if you do Vipassana, I think you've done Vipassana as well, Anjana. Have you done
Yes.
Vipassana?
Yes,
There they
yes.
talk about it as economic, I can't even pronounce the word. It's the one word I can't pronounce, equanimous, right? They
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about it in equanimous. You see, it's all these religions and spiritualities point to the same thing, that what equanimous basically means is, if it was raining one day and I look out the window and I see it's raining, I'll just say, yeah, great, it's raining. Oh, okay, right now it's not raining. But however it is, that's the nature of the world. And we're used to that. because people around us are going, yeah, it's just rain, it's just something. But when it comes to emotions, and this is an example I use with clients. I say, if you could walk down the high street and you can imagine everyone's wearing a t-shirt, which would tell you how they're feeling, you would realize how okay it is to be human because you can't read other people's thinking. So then when we experience it, we're like, oh my gosh, it's just me. I'm 1 in 7 billion. That's so unique that I experience fear. Well, actually, if you could see what everyone is feeling, you'd be like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit low today, but this is normal. I can enjoy this time. I can still go and have some cake. I can still go and, it's like, but we make it so personal because we can't see what anyone else is feeling and thinking. So we think it's just us and I shouldn't have this. And we're so in our thinking until all I do with clients is when I get them to slow down for a second, just to stop. The thinking does what it does, which is what it's built to do, which is slowly subside, slowly melt away. And suddenly they realize what they're scared of is no longer a problem. Like things just don't feel problematic anymore.
It's true. It's true. So it's all in our heads. It's all in our minds. Seriously, everything. I mean, whether we're positive or negative or whatever it is, I think it's every emotion is ours. It's ours to own. It's ours to accept. I think that's really important. I know a lot of people have asked a question is when I know you okay, so the question was when someone suffers a loss,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what is the way yes you actually you did answer it earlier by basically saying that accept the feeling. Yes, you're feeling sad that you've lost somebody, you know so I think it's just about again acceptance. I think so, I think a lot of people literally want, I don't know what it is, but it's about, what are the take home tools? And I'm like, they're not take home tools. And I think it's more about accepting who we are, accepting what it is, you know. But I know they want to hear from you and not from me about how do you, when you're going through, again, I've asked this in the beginning and I'm doing it again. Is there something you could say that do this? And this would help you get out of, let's just call it the COVID low for now, okay? These are a couple of things that you can try for yourself that will help you get out of the COVID low. How do you deal with loss? How do you make the pain go away? Okay, there we go. All the questions have come.
Yeah.
That's what they were asking.
So it's a really great question. So I'm going to try not to give you the intellectual answer and how I see it for me. So, and I had a uncle in January,
Yeah.
and this is someone that actually really struck me because he's got two younger daughters, they're both 18 and 20, and
Mm-hmm.
they lost their dad, and he's such an incredible human being. And I just, you think, I wish I'd spent more time with this guy. I wish, and you really get the value of life. And it had a big wake up for me, my coaching, and why am I doing what I'm doing, and I was feeling what I was feeling. And the daughter said something really profound when she was looking over the body. So with our Indian ceremonies, of course, they have an open casket. And she was crying and everyone was trying to pull her away. And she said, just let me feel what I'm feeling. And I said, that's it. There's something profound in that. That how we're feeling, when we call it pain, when we call it loss, you're naturally going to feel something. You're going to feel sadness. And that's just the role of, our humanity. And in fact, one way of looking at it, now this is maybe the wrong way to think about it, but I'm going to share this. Um, I feel fortunate that I feel sad about this uncle. Imagine not feeling sad about him. Yeah, I don't really mind that this has happened. No, I'm really grateful I get to say I'm mourning an uncle. That was such an incredible gift in my world. I feel sadness. I feel so it's a blessing to have people like that in my life, firstly. Imagine if you had people that passed that you didn't want to mourn. Could you feel anger, frustration? You're mourning love. You're mourning something that meant something to you. So what you're dealing with is a process of change. Change, I think someone said, is like honey. It's like really sticky at the beginning, especially. It's very sticky. So our role is to not feel those feelings. Like when we talk about how do we deal with, the pain and the challenges we go through, it's almost like what I'm basically saying is, and why I come away from tools is because what we need to deal with challenges is actually inbuilt within us. It's actually inbuilt. And so what I call our genius or our intuition or our wisdom, that it's like what helps us self-correct is when we let go, like when we properly let go and our body naturally calms down again, because that's what our body is built to do. In the same way, like this intelligence we've got within us, in the same way, when we become ill, sometimes we might need meds, but really we need to relax and rest and let our body do what it does. The same way to when we sleep. I don't do the sleeping. I lie down and shut my eyes and I fall asleep because my body's inbuilt intelligence takes care of that. It's the same with our thinking. That it's not our job, in my opinion, to fix our thinking. It's not our job to fix pain. Now, if you're saying how do I deal with loss, the one thing I wouldn't do is suppress, because that is actually doing something. Suppressing is like taking a big beach volleyball, pushing it underneath the ocean, and you're holding it down. Fantastic, but how long can you do that for? And your
Yeah.
arms are going to get so tired, then eventually this big explosion comes out. And this
Yeah.
is what you'll see in dynamics, where people get so angry and suddenly it outbursts. And so what you don't want to do is suppress. But when you're feeling sadness and pain and loss, that fundamentally isn't a problem. That's a part of life. And if you just allow yourself to, what will happen is you'll go through, and I think they call it the stages in that sense. But
Yeah.
if you just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, eventually you're going to feel less and less sad and more grateful and more at peace with it. Then going back and forth, experience times of sadness, times of, but whatever that process is, that's completely okay. I just think we're built into a world and taught that we shouldn't be feeling emotions. And then we think it's something we've got to deal with. Well, actually, there's nothing for you to deal with. Whatever you're going to go through is what you're going to go through. And if you just allow yourself to, then what I find with a lot of my life that I don't feel the most, let's say, upbeat all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when I go through challenges, I don't feel the most like excited. But there's this really nice calmness that comes through. There's this like grace that comes through, this groundedness that comes through, that everything's going to be okay. And that's really rich. That for me is more meaningful than just feeling happy for no reason. Like just really feeling centered and grounded. Like that for
And
me is
what
really,
made you get here? How did you get to the point of being centered and grounded and feeling a sense of grace? I know what you're saying. I understand it completely because very often I do that too. I mean, like when I'm sitting in my chanting sessions, I feel so grateful. I just put my hands on my heart. I understand. But what I'm just wondering, what is it that made you get to this point of when, like you said, when there's something happening, you just need to get yourself into that sense of gratitude and grace? I mean, how, what was the journey that got you to this point?
so I don't, it's not that I take a bash at personal development, but I used to be so big in the personal development field that, and it's a great question about grounding. I'll talk
Yeah,
about it in a
yeah, I
second.
was just going to say
Yeah.
that.
So I've done it the wrong way for 8 years. As in 8 years, meaning I felt whenever I was negative, I had to then become positive. That was a journey I was on. And it's only in the last 2 years, one of my mentors has pointed me to something really rich. So what he basically said is a lot of the world goes from negative to positive thinking. I need to go from one to the other one. And this is why I talk about it as a way of being. Because when you talk about something negative that is, or feeling, or it's a thought, then it's just the same thing. It's made up. It's our thinking. So messing around with our thinking often doesn't actually help with something. So I used to be doing a lot of, personal development, which is going from having one feeling, changing it into another feeling, trying to turn things around. And then I realized that the problem with self-improvement is there's nothing to actually improve. Like when you're not trying to fix yourself, there's nothing actually to improve. And I only realized this after the last 2 years that I used to be in, even the seminar you came to, the first one, it was way different to the last one you attended.
Yeah,
Now, in my opinion, the last one I attended, it's not going to be for everyone, but the impact's going to be deeper because it
yeah,
talks about this, that there's nothing to actually improve. That
yeah,
fundamentally, when you become okay with your thinking again, when you become okay with what you're feeling, you realize you're not broken. You realize there's nothing to fix. And then what you'll experience is you to the fullest. Like that's what being positive is for me. Like you're experiencing more you into the world. So I've done it so wrong for 8 years, thinking I need to grow, I need to develop, I need to have these habits, I need to do the 5 a.m. club, I need to do all these rituals, I need to read 300 books a year.
yeah,
I used to have this big list of all the things personal development gurus said you need to do. And it just felt like loads of stuff. And when I just let that go, like my coach basically, tapped me on the shoulder and said, does that really help? Does carrying all this stuff really help? And I just said, well, it feels stressful. It just doesn't feel right to me. And I learned that actually That's who we really are when we let go of that. Like that's where we experience the richness of our life. So I used to be fast paced thinking that's what success was, but it just didn't feel really good. And when I slowed down, like I had insights around this. So it's only over the last 2 years I've really woken up to actually, you don't need to be positive nor negative. It's just you'll feel what you feel. But the richness is in between those things.
So true. And can you just before last question? Can you? I think she asked the question. What do you mean by grounding? Can you just give a few words about?
Absolutely. I'd be very happy to talk about grounding. And of course, I've got time as well, Janice. I'm working towards
Okay.
your schedule. However long you need, I've made sure we have time for today.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
my pleasure. So, grounding, there's two senses of grounding. So if I'm speaking to a coach, um, and I think someone else said my question. Was that
I think that was the same.
okay?
That's the same question, the grounding
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
And if anybody has any questions, please type them now while we're chatting about the grounding. Thanks. Yes.
Cool. So, if I was speaking to a coach, grounding, there's two definitions I suppose I could probably look at. I think the main one for me is if I was speaking to a coach, grounding is how we see the world. Grounding is how our view in the world is. As we deepen our grounding, we have more success in life. So I came first from the school of thought and my grounding was I need to, I need to go and fix myself. I need to go and do all this development. I need to do all this, you know, all these sorts of things I used to do in the name of personal development that just would weigh me down. I felt I needed to do these things. And as I had an insight that actually none of that was really helping me. And my humanity was when I just slowed down, like I had an insight. That's how your grounding deepens. That's how your consciousness increases. That's how you see the world changes. So for someone who's living in the world where they think, I no longer need to actually be worried about my thinking. And this is a question for everyone just to think about, like it's homework on the back of this. What if your project in life was to never change your thinking again? Just imagine how you'd experience that. So for someone that really sees that as like true, that yeah, I'm not going to mess with my thinking. I'm just going to let it be. Like they really see that's true. Your grounding just deepens. Your awareness deepens because how you experience situations is so different. How you would then run your business is different. That you're not so worried about what you think and feel. You're more in the moment. So grounding it's another word for consciousness. That the way to increase consciousness is just going out and having insights, like exploring what you're coming up against, like for you personally, and just asking yourself, what do I need to see in this situation? What's really going to help me in this situation? And as you have insight, your grounding deepens, your consciousness increases, and you have more insight, and your consciousness increases again and again and again. So it's nothing that you can intellectually do, but it's just living your life. And you're going to come up against stuff in your relationships, with your friendships. And as you come up against challenges, it's just slowing down and asking yourself, what do I really need to see in this? What do I need to understand? And as you learn something through it, your grounding is going to deepen.
So being in the now is a great way of being grounded because, I mean, when you're present, that's also, it's the same thing, right? It's being grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a call with some of my gang yesterday, the whole, for this project that I'm working on. And they asked this question, right? Like, how do I be more in the present? And I just said to them, well, okay, is there anything else you can do apart from being in the present? Is there an alternative? Now, mentally, yeah, you could be in the future and in the past, but that's only through thought. Apart from thought, which just isn't very reliable, it's not very solid, when thought melts away, all that's left is the present. That's all there actually is. So you can only be in the present. Physically, yeah, but mentally you can be, but all there is actually the present. And that's where grounding comes from. But the more we see, well, actually, all there is now, then all we're doing is living more in connection with what's here right now.
It's so true. I just wish we could apply it so much more on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so, I mean, you can see all the comments everybody's, and I completely agree. It's just, I think we just need to be more aware, to be present. I mean, I know that's not the right line. It's not the way to say it. You just have to not, yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely. I'm going to first just check if anybody has any other questions to ask. And yeah, I just,
I think how you said it as well, Angela, was great when you said be more present. Like that itself is still pointing more towards truth than anything. Like you see, this conversation we're having now, if you're someone that is very driven about things you want to create in your life, or you're working on a project, or you want to have like a bigger impact in the world. So a lot of my clients that I coach, they say, Rag, this is great, now I feel happier. But how I need to go and succeed more in my work and how do I apply this? Well, it's actually the same understanding that I challenged some of my clients yesterday. I set them a challenge that for everything you do in your life, I want you to show up empty. I want you
So
to show
what
up
do you do?
empty. Show
Show
up
up in.
empty. Show up empty.
How do you do
So
that?
what that means is, and actually let me use a great example. So they said, well, Rag, I'm really struggling with this in my business. And I told them actually that showing up empty is what we're built to do. That's where we're really actually effective. So if, for example, like you're going into London and you're with your friends and you're going to go and find a restaurant to eat at, you probably don't know what you're going to eat at the restaurant, but you probably end up coming out having eaten something.
Yeah.
That's showing up empty. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're just so in the moment. You're looking at the menu, and what happens is you're going to eventually pick an option, and you go with the option. You walk out, and great. That's success in eating at a restaurant. It's the same principle at business, or even in a coaching session, or even in a conversation with you. That I don't come in with an agenda with all this thought. Like if you and me were having a conversation
Yeah.
and you said, "Hey, Rag, how's it going?" I said, "Andrew, no, don't worry about that. I've got an agenda today of what I want to talk about as a friend." So I just show up and I go with what's here because that's what being present is in business, in sport. That there's actually very few ways to perform apart from really just showing up empty. So these spiritual principles apply to life as a whole. Like I share this with a tennis player, and he found this profound that his performance doesn't come from being caught up. It's coming from being in the moment, being in the flow where you can respond to the other opposition and what's happening. Because it doesn't matter whatever training he's done, it's about what is the other player doing and how do I need to adapt to what's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So it's
It's
about just showing up. Yeah.
I think the couple of questions, I think one's by Arjun and one was, is it grounding? No, I think it's, so basically what you are saying is to go with the flow. It's okay. Or like Arjun says, it's like, is it no preconceived notions, like a blank slate?
Yeah. So it's I heard this funny quote once that this is the power of assuming. I'm doing my best to not assume stuff. Someone said, if you assume with anyone, you make an ass out of you and me. ASSUME.
Yeah.
If you assume, you
Yes,
make an
it's
ass out of
true.
you and
I've
me.
heard that.
Because yeah, and it's so powerful because as Arjun said, and it's like being in the moment and being aware. That's exactly what it is because that's what like how can I we might take this for granted, but whenever we throw ourselves into any situation, we've got incredible common sense and wisdom that kicks in. Like I don't know how to describe it apart from we are where we are today, and we've been able to figure out the most complex things we've been through personally, but we've been able to connect the dots, as Steve Jobs says, because there's like a wisdom, a common sense we have when we're really living in the present. That people hear this as, well, Rag, I want to set up a business, but you're telling me to just show up empty. Whereas Arjun said, no preconceived like notions. How am I going to do things? Like I want to run an incredible gelato store. How am I going to do that? Well, here's the thing. When you show up to it, you're going to know what you need to do. Right now, from where you are, you're trying to think about it in so much detail, you're getting overwhelmed. What I know is when you're there in the moment itself, you're responding in real-time data. It's like asking a trader I want you to predict what's going to happen in 3 days. Well, Rag, I don't know what's going to happen in 3 days, but when I'm there, I'm going to see what's happening. I'll be able to figure it out. That's what I'm pointing to. That it's absolutely the same as mindfulness as well. Like being in the moment, like wherever we are, that's where we perform at our best. Like when we're really in the moment, responding to data. So when people are worried about the future, they say, Rag, I'm really scared. What I point them to is that what they're right now working off and why it doesn't make sense trying to predict the future is you're not working off real-time data. We're really bad at predicting the future. We're terrible. That's not our ability. We are not built to predict the future. Like we can anticipate, but actually where our effectiveness comes from is when we throw ourselves into what we're doing in our life, in our business, in our relationships, and going with the wisdom, going with the common sense, going with our business sense, life sense, as things come up in the moment. Like I've never seen any friends go into London and say, Rag, we never knew what, like, I wanted to go out to eat with my friend and we ended up not eating at all. Like, you end up, it's common sense. Like, it will come through you as and when you keep living your life.
Wow. Well, I think that was amazing, and going with your gut was it. Okay, yeah. I guess it's the same thing, right? It's your instinct, it's your gut, it's being present, is so many different words to so many different things. But um, I, I think I definitely got what you're saying, and definitely need a session rather a long time. Even though I'm saying it on public social media. Truly. So this is lovely. I think it was absolutely awesome. And I don't know, I'm suddenly feeling more alive. I don't know what it is, but it's just some things. I mean, there's so much that you said that I know makes a difference. It's going to make a difference to me and a lot of people watching this too. And I'm really, really, really glad that I started this off with you. I'm not very good at this, as you can see. It's
No,
my
it's been
first time.
amazing. You've done awesome. You've done an amazing job. People have loved it. And I wish, like, and I love, like, you adding your experience and your takes for it. And I know, I'm sure people have got so much from it, including me, definitely.
Raghav, no, say, but really, I think I'm glad it was you, because, like I was telling Milind earlier before I started, I said, maybe I'm just going to ask him to coach me through the whole session because I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. And I think you kind of did. So it worked out well. But I really appreciate you being here. And hopefully we will catch you for another session on another topic sometime in the near future.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm looking forward to following the other ones you do and the ones. So you've got more and more guests coming up, and this is like a.
That's the plan. I had to first start with you because I needed you to coach me through it, and I'm really looking forward. I'm going to work on it. I'll talk to you about it. I'm going to work with some more different people. Just I'm not sure what we're going to do, but something will work out, I'm sure. Thank you
I've
for
really
all this.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
Really, but it was awesome. Thanks, Ram. Sending you a big hug and a big kiss, and
Thank you,
looking
Angela.
forward to seeing you in London really soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We're getting there now. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just waiting for the flight to bring us there from here. Lots of love. Big
You too,
hug,
Angela.
Raghav.
You too.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Yeah,
Take care.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. So that was my session one. First one I did in conversation with Raghav, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and got some good take-home value. And yeah, that was it. Thank you for being here. It was lovely, and looking forward. Thank you, and looking forward to more and more sessions like this. And just sending you all lots of love. Thank you, Sarah. That's really sweet. Thank you all for your support, for being here. It's just nice to have you all here. And on that happy note, oh, thanks, Rag. On that happy note, lots of love. See you guys, the chanting group tomorrow. And the rest of you, I'll let you. Thanks, Han, for being here. So the chanting group, see you tomorrow. And the rest of you, looking forward. I don't know when we're having our next session. Till then, take care. Ciao. Bye.